Kuwait had played an integral part in launching several humanitarian initiatives to make sure that the suffering and the pain felt by the disadvantaged and the needy worldwide would be lessened.
Since the ascension of His Highness the late Emir Sheikh Sabah Al Ahmed Al Jaber Al Sabah to the leadership of Kuwait in 2006, various humanitarian campaigns had launched, which led to a UN honoring Kuwait as a humanitarian center in 2014. More in the following report with Sheikh Al-Anazi.
Through its effort in helping people around the globe, the state of Kuwait played a pioneering role in humanitarian field. Since ascension to power in 2006, His Highness the late Amir Sheikh Sabah Al Ahmed Al Jaber Al Sabah made his mission and Kuwait's mission to assist countries in the region and the world to fight off poverty and mishaps. The UN named His Highness the late Amir Sheikh Sabah Al Ahmed Al Jaber Al Sabah as a global humanitarian leader due to His Highness' outstanding generosity and magnificent contribution to international humanitarian conferences. In 2016, His Highness the late Emir Sheikh Sabah took part at the Humanitarian Summit in Istanbul, where His Highness highlighted Kuwait's contributions to humanitarian causes around the world, noting that the state had offered over USD 1 billion in the last 5 years to support global humanitarian efforts. Most of the allocated sums were delivered to the needy suffering from wars in Syria, Iraq, Palestine, and Yemen. The Kuwaiti humanitarian hand was also extended to those who suffered from natural disasters in Japan, Philippines, Turkey, and Somalia in recent years. On the regional level, based on His Highness the late Emir Wise directives, Kuwait hosted 3 donors conferences for Syria from 2013 till 2015, donating $1.3 billion in the process. The 4th conference for Syria hosted in London, Kuwait also donating a sum of $300 million to help humanitarian efforts in Syria. Alongside government efforts, Kuwaiti charitable societies and relief aid organizations also took a part in helping the Syrians to overcome their dire situation. In Yemen, His Highness the late Emir Sheikh Sabah Al Ahmed Al Jaber Al Sabah announced in 2015 a generous donation of $100 million for the Yemeni people suffering from the ills of civil war. In 2009, Kuwait donated $34 million to cover the expenses of operation carried out by the United Nations Relief and Works Agency for Palestinian refugees in the Near East. The state of Kuwait also offered $15 million in 2013 to help the Palestinians, in addition to launching a relief aid campaign in 2014 for the Gaza Strip, which was hit by brutal Israeli operations in July of that year. In Iraq, Kuwait continued to offer aid there, giving in 2015 a sum of $200 million to displaced Iraqis. Kuwait pledged $176 million during an Iraqi aid conference held in Washington. Meanwhile, on relief aid during times of natural disasters and diseases, His Highness the late Emir Sheikh Sabah Al Ahmed gave orders to offer thousands and millions of dollars to various countries which were affected by the devastating force of nature. Therefore, His Highness the late Emir Sheikh Sabah Al Ahmed named as a humanitarian leader and Kuwait as International Humanitarian Center. On September 9, 2014, Secretary General of the United Nations Ban Ki-moon held a special ceremony at the United Nations headquarters in New York to commemorate the Kuwait leadership and people's commitment to the world humanitarian causes. Ban said in remarks at the ceremony recognizing the humanitarian leadership of His Highness the Emir, they thank the Emir and the people of Kuwait for their outstanding generosity. Kuwait's leadership and funding has saved lives. Ban added that at a time when so many of their appeals are underfunded, it is good to know they can count on Kuwait's generosity. On the other hand, His Highness the late Emir affirmed during the ceremony that Kuwait had always based its foreign policy on providing humanitarian aid for all countries in need, regardless of geographic boundaries, religion, or ethnicity. In present time, His Highness the late Emir also acknowledged the threat of the COVID-19 pandemic and issued a decree on March 26, 2020 allocating 10 million Kuwaiti dinar to implement the National Anti-Coronavirus Emergency Program. His Highness also instructed state bodies to bring back Kuwaitis from abroad and also aid down on their luck expatriates to help pull through during the measures, but to halt the spread of the disease. His Highness the late Amir Sheikh Sabah Al Ahmed Al Jaber Al Sabah has painted a clear picture of Kuwait humanitarian diplomacy.